Have you ever wondered how to tell a better story? Have you ever wanted to tell a better story through photography? Do you want your Instagram grid to look better? My suggestion is try a triptych. Today I'm going to teach you about triptychs and why they're really useful as a photographer or an artist. My name is James Ruddle and welcome to my channel. So today I'm talking about triptychs and why artists use triptychs. A triptych means 3 panels having 3 different works of art side by side that tell a story. Traditionally, triptychs are altarpieces in churches, and if you've ever traveled to Europe or to any Catholic cathedrals, you may have seen triptychs at the front of the church. And basically the reason triptychs came around was because people were not educated a few hundred years ago, especially during the 14th, 15th century. Literacy wasn't the same as it is today. And so churches would commission artists to paint these paintings called triptychs to tell the story of Jesus' life. And usually they had the birth of Jesus, maybe the death and crucifixion of Jesus, and then the resurrection of Jesus. And these panels were meant to tell stories. And because people couldn't read and they didn't read the Bible, the church used triptychs and paintings all throughout their cathedrals to tell the whole biblical story. Today, I think there's still opportunities for artists to create triptychs. Triptychs are an excellent use of 3 different panels or 3 different photographs to tell unique stories. And so my challenge to you today is to find some cool triptychs that you've seen and to sort of figure out what the story is, to see what is the artist trying to say. And I think it's really important to always consider what the artist is trying to say and what story the artist is trying to tell, because usually they have a specific focus or something that they want to say. Usually the first piece will give sort of context or it will give historical background. The second piece usually will be the climax or the height of the event. And the third panel will be something like the denouement, which would be the end of the story, the outcome. I've done a number of triptychs for churches. I did a piece 4 years ago where I did all these triptychs and I used the theme of the hands. So I told the story of Jesus' life through hands, and it was more about Palm Sunday being everybody holding the palm leaves up in the air, and then the central piece was Jesus being nailed to the cross, and it was his hand being nailed to the cross, which is actually the painting that's up here. And then the third piece was Jesus holding his hand up with a hole in his hand, showing that he was raised from the dead. And it was amazing because what it did was it allowed people to see the narrative of Jesus' life in picture form, as opposed to reading it in the Bible or reading it in the script, or it just helps bring these themes to life in a totally unique way. So if you're an artist or if you're a creator trying to come up with a triptych, I think it's really important to focus on a few things. Make sure that your story is very simple. You have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And then you also want to simplify all of your messaging. So it's easy to use something like a hand to tell a story, or an object to tell a story, but keep that object throughout the piece. So all three pieces should have that object. So if it is a hand or hands, use hands in the first one, use hands in the second one, and use hands in the third one. And the most important thing about a triptych is that it shouldn't have any words. You should be able to read the image 1, 2, 3 side by side and have this narrative that people can come up with through just looking at the image. And I think that's the most powerful part of triptychs, is that just with 3 simple images, it tells the most unique and powerful story. And each viewer can have a slightly different story. You may want to title it, but I don't think that words are really necessary in the actual photograph or the paintings. But figuring out how you're going to title it is super important in the process of actually creating your triptych and why you're creating your triptych. So I hope you learned a little bit about the history of triptychs, and if you're ever trying to tell a simple story using 3 different photographs, give it a shot. Try it out. I'd love to hear your comments down below, and please like, subscribe, and stay tuned next week for my next video.